Unusual signs in the sky often unsettle the heart, yet they also awaken something deeper. When the heavens shift in color, the mind instinctively pauses, sensing that the message is not only above us but within us. The red aurora that people speak of is more than a striking sight. It is a reflection of an inner state many try to ignore. I am Shiheng Yi, and tonight we walk into the meaning behind this rare phenomenon. You will discover why ancient traditions saw the sky as a mirror of your inner world, why a red glow was linked to personal transformation, and how Shaolin teachings explain the fire that rises inside you during moments of change. There are lesser-known ideas hidden in these teachings, insights about inner heat, psychological turbulence, and the quiet signals your mind sends long before your life shifts. Throughout this video, you will learn how to read these signs without fear, how to recognize the difference between disturbance and awakening, and how to use this moment to deepen your own mastery. You will understand why outer events often appear exactly when your inner landscape reaches a breaking point, and how the Shaolin path teaches you to hold your center even when the world feels charged with intensity. Stay with me until the end, because each layer builds upon the next. By the final moment, you will not only see this red sky differently, you will see yourself differently. You will have practical steps for grounding your internal fire, strengthening clarity, and walking forward with stability, no matter what shifts around you. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If these teachings speak to you, join our path and subscribe. Sometimes the world whispers before it ever raises its voice. A subtle shift in the sky, a change in energy, a feeling that something is asking for your attention. These are not signs of doom. They are invitations to wake up. When people see an unusual light or color in the sky, the mind quickly jumps to fear. But in Shaolin training, we learn that a warning is rarely about the outside world. It is a signal that your awareness has drifted, that your discipline has softened, or that your intention has become scattered. A warning appears not to frighten you, but to redirect you. I was once taught that a warrior who stays awake to his inner world needs no dramatic sign to guide him. Only those who move through life half-present require loud reminders. And so, when something unusual captures your attention, it is not the sky demanding your fear, it is your own mind asking for focus. Think of it this way. When the fire inside rises too high, life reflects it back through symbols, events, or moments that disturb your rhythm. You may call it coincidence, you may call it a sign. But the purpose is the same: clarity. The Shaolin path trains you to see these moments with neutrality, not panic. The question is never what is happening to the world. The question is, where have I lost my center? Warnings are like bells in a monastery. They do not ring because something terrible is coming. They ring to call the monks back to presence, to alignment, to disciplined awareness. So when life places a warning before you, pause. Notice where your mind has wandered. Strengthen the areas where you have become weak, and return to your path with steadiness, not fear. There are days in a person's life that feel strangely heavier, as if the air carries a quiet message. The 14th of November stands as one of those threshold moments, not because the calendar gives it power, but because your awareness does. A date becomes significant when you decide it will mark a change in the way you walk through your own life. In the Shaolin tradition, such moments are seen as turning points from passive drifting to conscious direction. Life often moves in cycles, long stretches where habits lead the way, where reactions shape choices, where days blend into each other. Then something interrupts the pattern, a feeling, an event, a symbol, and it asks whether you are ready to step into a more intentional way of being. This is the essence of a threshold moment. It is not a doorway that forces itself open. It is a doorway that appears quietly, waiting for you to step through it. The teachings remind us that awareness is the key. Without awareness, even the most powerful moment becomes ordinary. With awareness, even a simple day becomes the beginning of transformation. Consider how a monk trains not by waiting for inspiration, but by choosing discipline one breath at a time. The shift into conscious living is the same. It begins when you stop moving on autopilot and start noticing your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses. It deepens when you choose intention over habit. It strengthens when you decide that this moment, this day, marks the start of a more deliberate life. The 14th of November holds no magic by itself. The magic is in your choice. Your willingness to treat this day as a threshold creates the momentum for inner mastery. When you step through with clarity, discipline, and presence, the path ahead becomes different because you have become different. In many ancient traditions, the color red in the sky is linked to the fire element, not in a literal sense, but in the language of symbolism. Fire has always been the element of intensity. It represents the forces that burn within a person, passion that pushes you forward, anger that clouds judgment, restlessness that unsettles the mind, and transformation that reshapes your life. These emotions are not enemies, they are energies. The challenge is learning to guide them rather than be consumed by them. In the Shaolin path, fire is understood as both a blessing and a burden. Left unmanaged, it can erupt as impulsive action, emotional turbulence, or destructive choices. But when it is channeled with awareness, fire becomes the source of courage, motivation, and inner strength. It is the flame that refines, much like metal placed in the forge. There is an old teaching that says, the heat inside you is not a problem. The problem is forgetting to breathe. Mindfulness is the cooling force that softens the edges of inner fire. When the heart races or the mind becomes agitated, slow and steady breathwork brings the flame under control. Each inhale brings clarity. Each exhale releases excess heat. Over time, the fire becomes steady rather than wild. A monk once described this process as tending a lantern in the wind. You do not extinguish the flame. You protect it, calm it, and let it shine steadily. This is how passion becomes purpose, how anger becomes understanding, how restlessness becomes movement in the right direction. Managing inner heat is a discipline, not a momentary act. When you cultivate awareness of your inner fire, when you breathe through tension, instead of reacting to it, you transform raw intensity into grounded strength. The red sky outside is only a reminder of the fire you must learn to master within. There is a strength that does not shout, does not tremble, and does not rush. It is the strength of quiet observation, a presence that remains steady even when the world appears to shift in unsettling ways. In the Shaolin tradition, this presence is considered one of the highest forms of mastery. It is not dramatic and it is not loud. It is a calm that has been trained breath by breath through years of discipline. When outer events unfold with intensity, strange colors in the sky, sudden changes, or moments that stir uncertainty, the untrained mind reacts immediately. It jumps to fear, assumptions, and stories. But the trained mind pauses. It watches without being pulled into the storm of emotion. This neutrality is not indifference. It is clarity. It is the ability to see what is happening without adding unnecessary fear to the moment. There is an old lesson shared among practitioners. Fear belongs to the mind that has forgotten its center. The purpose of training is to remember that center no matter what rises around you. When you are grounded, you do not rush to conclusions. When you are steady, you do not let outer drama control your inner world. A teacher once described this state as standing beside a river. The water may rush, twist, or rise, but you remain on the bank, observing. You do not fall in. You do not get swept away. You learn to watch the world move with its natural rhythms without losing your footing. Observing without fear is a practice, not a personality trait. It comes from breathing deeply, anchoring your awareness in the present moment, and trusting the stability you have cultivated within. This is the Shaolin way, to meet the world not with panic, but with presence. Red has always carried a certain weight in ancient symbolism. It is the color of heat, the color of life, and the color of truth when it refuses to stay in the shadows. In many old teachings, a red sky does not foretell danger. It reveals that something hidden is ready to rise. It is the moment when the quiet parts of the self begin to speak. Shaolin wisdom teaches that exposure is not punishment. It is liberation. When unresolved emotions come to the surface, when intentions you have avoided become clear, When old conflicts return seeking attention, it is not because life is turning against you. It is because you have reached a point where carrying these hidden weights is no longer possible. There is a saying in the monastery, nothing rises to destroy you, it rises to free you. This reflects a deeper understanding of personal growth. What you bury becomes heavy, what you face becomes light, and often it is a symbolic event, a sign, a shift, a moment of intensity that triggers this rising. Consider how a seed must break apart before a sprout appears. The breaking is not the end, it is the beginning. In the same way, emotional truths break through the surface when you are ready for the next stage of your development, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. A student once asked why these buried truths often feel overwhelming. The teacher replied, because the heart waited too long to speak. When clarity finally comes, it arrives with force. Yet this force is not meant to harm. It is meant to push you toward honesty, alignment, and deeper self-understanding. The prophecy of red is not about external fate. It is an inner awakening, a reminder that truth, once surfaced, becomes the path to freedom. When something unusual appears in the world, a strange glow in the sky, a sudden shift in atmosphere, or a feeling that the air itself carries a message, the instinct of many is to react. But in the old traditions, these moments were treated very differently. They were not triggers for fear or speculation. They were invitations to pause, a reminder that stillness often reveals more truth than urgency ever can. Stillness is the space where awareness sharpens. When you stop moving for a moment, when you let your breath settle and your thoughts quiet, the mind becomes clear. And clarity is what allows you to see the situation as it is, not as fear paints it. In the Shaolin path, clarity is considered the foundation of wise action. Without clarity, even good intentions lead to confusion. With clarity, even small actions carry great strength. There is an old teaching, stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of alignment. This means that when you pause, you are not doing nothing, you are returning to yourself. You are gathering your energy, focusing your attention, and allowing truth to settle into place. Stillness positions you correctly before you step forward. A story often told to students describes a monk watching a lantern sway in a storm. Instead of rushing to steady it, he waits. He observes. He lets the wind reveal its pattern. Only when he understands the rhythm does he act. And with one precise movement, the lantern becomes stable again. This is the essence of stillness, patient, aware, and purposeful. So when the world feels unusual or charged, do not rush to respond. Let stillness guide your inner landscape first. From that centered position, your choices become clearer, your actions more aligned, and your path more certain. A sky lit with red can easily stir the mind. It looks intense, unusual, almost like a signal meant to provoke alarm. But appearances are the most basic layer of reality, and the Shaolin path teaches that true understanding rarely lives on the surface. What seems like a warning in the outer world often points to something unfolding within. The sky is not speaking of danger, it is reflecting your state of perception. In the monastery, students are taught early to question the impulse to react. A teacher might hold up an object and ask, "What do you see?" Most describe the shape, the color, the surface. Only after deeper training does one begin to see meaning, symbolism, and relationship. This is the difference between looking and perceiving. Looking stops at the eye. Perception continues into the mind, the heart, and the understanding of one's own inner landscape. A red aurora may appear dramatic, but its value lies in what it awakens inside you: curiosity, reflection, and awareness. Instead of jumping toward fear, the trained mind asks, "Why does this affect me? What is this moment teaching me about my perception?" Fear arises when you stop at the surface. Wisdom grows when you learn to interpret symbolically, seeing patterns, recognizing inner states, and understanding the deeper messages hidden within external events. There is a story of a monk who watched a fierce storm while others ran for shelter. When asked why he stayed, he said, "The storm outside teaches me about the storm within." He was not ignoring danger, he was refining perception. True mastery is not about controlling the world around you. It is about seeing clearly. It is the discipline of recognizing that every outer impression has an inner echo, and that the deepest guidance always comes from understanding that echo, not fearing the appearance. When the world feels charged, when energy rises like waves threatening to overwhelm, the body often responds before the mind can catch up. Heart races, thoughts scatter, emotions flare. Ancient Shaolin teachings offer a tool older than any philosophy, the breath. Breath is the bridge between chaos and calm, between reaction and mastery, between turbulence and clarity. Shaolin monks train from a young age to treat the breath as both anchor and compass. A single slow, deep inhale draws the mind inward, collects scattered energy, and connects it to the body. The exhale releases tension, burns away agitation, and returns the nervous system to its natural rhythm. This is not a quick fix, it is a discipline, a moment-to-moment practice that turns restlessness into presence. There is a teaching that compares breath to the movement of a river. When the current is strong, rushing, and uncontrolled, it can erode the banks and flood the fields. But when guided, it nourishes and shapes the land. The same is true for inner energy. Left unchecked, it becomes fire that scorches. Guided through awareness and rhythm, it becomes strength that illuminates and steadies. A student once described the first time they practiced this breathwork during a stormy night. The aurora glowed fiercely above, emotions churned within, and the world seemed too intense to bear. But with each measured inhale and exhale, the inner turbulence settled, fear softened, clarity emerged, and the body felt grounded as though rooted to the earth itself. Breathwork transforms reaction into choice. It reminds the mind that intensity is temporary and stability is cultivated. By returning attention to the rhythm of the body, by letting the breath guide energy rather than suppress it, the waves of emotion become manageable, purposeful, and even enlightening. In every inhale and exhale lies the path to centeredness. Life often presents moments that feel larger than themselves. Unusual events, intense emotions, or shifts in the natural world that seem to demand attention. These moments are not random. They are mirrors, reflections of the choices we have been making, the corners of ourselves we have neglected, and the potential we have yet to realize. In Shaolin philosophy, such shifts are reminders to live with purpose, to align action with higher intention. Every decision, every movement is an opportunity to examine the path we are walking. What have we been avoiding? Which truths have been left unspoken? Which fears left unchallenged? What habits or attachments need to be released? And what strengths need to be cultivated? These are not questions to be answered hurriedly or superficially. They are invitations to deep reflection, the kind that comes only when the mind is quiet and the heart is attentive. Discipline is the compass that points toward purposeful action. Shaolin teachings emphasize that mastery is not simply in skill or knowledge, but in the alignment of thought, word, and deed. Intentional living begins with awareness, noticing the impulses that drive you, the patterns that shape your behavior, and the inner forces that either guide or hinder your journey. The so-called prophecy of unusual signs in the sky is not about fate or fear. It is about the call to return to intentionality, to examine your life with honesty, and to take deliberate steps toward your highest potential. When action is guided by awareness and purpose, even the smallest movement carries significance. The world outside is merely a reflection of the world within. By confronting what must be confronted, releasing what must be released, and strengthening what must be strengthened, you align your actions with a higher purpose. This is the path from distraction to mastery, from chaos to clarity, and from passive existence to a life lived fully awake. The red sky and the aurora are not warnings to fear, but invitations to awaken. They remind us that the world outside often mirrors the world within, and that clarity comes not from reacting but from observing with presence. By practicing Shaolin principles, cultivating stillness, steady breath, disciplined attention, and mastery over our inner fire, we learn to face unusual or intense moments with wisdom, calm, and balance. The 14th of November, like any turning point, holds its power not in what occurs around us, but in the awareness it awakens inside. It calls us to pause, reflect, and align our actions with purpose. Every moment can become an opportunity to transform tension into clarity, fear into understanding, and distraction into mindful presence. Carry this lesson into your daily life. Let the lessons of the sky guide your inner practice. Notice your breath, steady your mind, and respond with intention rather than impulse. In this way, even the most striking events become teachers, and each day becomes a step toward mastery and inner peace. If this teaching resonates, join our path at Shaolin Soulfire. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and continue exploring the ways ancient wisdom can guide modern life. May each moment bring you closer to balance, clarity, and the quiet strength that lives within.